And this is actually directly tied to the second principle, which is that you should build your system for repeatability. You do not want to develop a system of doing something that relies on like all the stars aligning. You want it to work on the worst day. And so if you think about your intention and then the plans that you have made, you can evaluate these plans in terms of how repeatable they are on a bad day. And ask yourself, does it rely on willpower or motivation for me to execute on this plan? And for the overwhelming majority of the clients that I work with, most of the plans that are created usually require you to inject motivation and willpower to make it happen. And that is a violation of the second principle, which is to build for repeatability. You want to make sure that there is as little friction as possible. And so what happens when we work with these two principles and then think in systems is that you actually end up sort of cycling back and forth between these two principles. You figure out something that is high effort, that means that, you're going to rely on this willpower, and then you think about ways to avoid that. What are ways that I can make it easier? And then you go back and ask yourself, okay, well, what are the challenges? What are the obstacles? What are the other factors that might make that plan not work? So for example, there's this accountant that I was working with last year who was studying for their chartered accountancy exams, which is a pretty dense exam, and they're working full time as well. And their plan to begin with was that they were going to do a bit of studying for their CA exams every day after work as soon as they got home. Now, this plan failed like all the time because there's too much traffic, and sometimes he gets too tired on his drive home, and then he gets home and then there's family and he has to, prepare dinner, and then after dinner he's like too tired and too sleepy, he just wants to relax. And so one solution to that, which is the common one, is to say, okay, well, you just need to like dig deep and then try harder, forget it if you're tired, who cares if you're tired, just do it anyway. And yes, that can work for a period of time, but personally, I don't believe that that is sustainable. And it's also kind of like not a pleasant way to live every day. So instead, when we think in systems holistically and for repeatability, we look at that problem and we say, okay, sure, what can we do about that? Perhaps we can stay at work for longer after work, and then you beat the traffic, you do the work and the study that you need to do in your office, and then you come home after that. So that's us trying to reduce the amount of effort, tackle some of these barriers that come up in terms of feeling too tired, not enough energy. And so we go back here and think, okay, well, what are the reasons why that might not work? So in this case, it's if I come home that late, then my entire family has to push back their dinner time. Could that work? Could you have a conversation with your family and maybe they're all fine with it? Maybe they can just push back dinner by an hour and it's no big deal, and then we've won. So that was one option, and then we explored another option. Okay, could we just study another time of the day? Could you study before work in the morning?